It was very important for me, especially the credit, because every single person you saw at the end of the film, those are also heroes who helped this film being really done the way you saw it. Without these people's contributions to the film, I would have not came with a professional film as good as this one. They were really, really amazing people. Every single one who donated $1 to 5 to 10 to 1,000 to 5,000 or 10,000 made this work professional as you saw it. I know most of the time when I come and talk about the film, most people are shut down after the film. If you have a question, just ask. If you don't, I will talk about anything about the film and the process of making it. But if you have a question, just raise your hand and ask it. I'll give you 1 minute. If you don't, well, just keep talking.
Is there a lot of white phosphorus use?
During cast lead operation, yes. White phosphorus was used in Gaza. There were lots of people who got injured and some were killed by the white phosphorus.
Isn't it illegal?
It's a legal weapon by the international law, but it was used. There are lots of things the international law says it's illegal, but in Gaza there are lots of things are not being known to people as well. We didn't know that when I found the injuries in the hospitals, I didn't know this is white phosphorus. The doctors didn't know until they contacted also the Israeli doctors, because these kind of injuries were new to them. And at first, the Israeli doctors didn't really respond to their calls for help, but later they started to tell them how to deal with these injuries and what to do with the patients. We didn't know why it was white phosphorus if it wasn't for all these actually experienced people in weapons who talked about it and recognized it. Gazans would have never recognized it if it wasn't for the footage that came out about the white phosphorus.
I think it needs to be noted to the people who don't know about white phosphorus that white phosphorus doesn't go out, it just consumes itself. So it doesn't need oxygen to burn. It sticks and just burns itself out.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I had two questions. The first one is, how would you compare the severity of the campaign that we just saw to the most recent one? That was my first question.
You mean
in terms of people, you know, the destruction and suffering of the people, all that.
What you saw in this film is
compared to the most recent one.
Compared to the one in 2014.
Correct.
It's not comparable. I talk to my family all the time about how they felt during 2014, especially 2014. I was in trip to Europe and I was planning to see my family. It didn't work. The destruction is beyond anybody can imagine it. This one, you could say 5% of what the people have been through in 2014. The destruction, the home destruction, the number of killed people, you could say it's 30–40% more. In cast lead operation, actually not 40% more. In cast lead operation, there were 1,417 people who were killed. In 2014, they were 2,200, about 2,200 who were killed. 50% of the people who were killed during the last operation in 2014, they were women and children, less than 15 years old. About 450 were kids, less than 15.
I had a second question. Before the so-called Arab Spring, the Egyptian government seemed to be more or less of an ally of Israel and cooperated with Israeli policy. Now that some of those same people are back in power, how would you compare the current situation to, you know, to before? When I mean, is it about the same as when the military establishment, basically in Egypt being in power? In terms of the exit, you know, going back and forth between Palestine and Egypt?
It's getting more difficult in terms of going back and forth into Gaza. The process of entering, we didn't need a visa to go to Cairo, and then from Cairo to Gaza. We didn't need a visa because it's only as a layover, you say it in English, just to stay there for a night or even for a day or two or even for a week and then go from there to Gaza. we didn't need a visa. Now, actually, most Palestinians who leave for school, for any purpose, leave Cairo, leave Gaza, they need a visa. I have many friends who are really suffering so much. I'm just going to tell you a case so you understand what kind of process these students go through. A friend of mine, he's actually a Palestinian student, got scholarship here. He studied political science in one of the universities here, and he needed to renew his visa, student visa. He needed to renew it. They asked him, the school asked him to go back to Egypt to renew his visa. If you want to get a visa, or if you need to renew your visa, you have to go to two places. For Palestinians, they have to go to Jordan because it's the closest to Palestine, or to Cairo because also it's the closest to Palestine, Egypt. In his case, anyway, the Egyptians refused to give him a visa. He couldn't go to Jordan because he's from Gaza. If you are from Gaza, the closest place to Gaza is Egypt, so you have to go to Egypt. He tried to get a visa for 3 times. They refused his visa, and he had nowhere to go. He had to stay in the United States. He became an immigrant in the United States. But it wasn't his choice to stay in the United States. He was forced to stay in the United States, and he's now hoping to finish his school, and he doesn't know what to do next. This is just a story, because lots of people ask me sometimes, how is it in New York? You love it in New York. I wish to tell them beyond what we go through and choose to be in New York or in Gaza. Is it a choice, or people are forced to do it? They don't know what each student go through. Yes.
When Japan got bombed, they went through tremendous upheaval. Now they opened up a museum to show the world what happened. The Israelis also have Holocaust museums. This qualifies also to have Palestine centers to show the world the kind of suffering you guys are going through. And I think the only way Jimmy Carter tried as the President of the United States couldn't do anything. But the world opinion could change your lives by letting the world know, this is great, you're showing few of us. But if you open up small museums showing the people worldwide, and U.S. is the most powerful and has the greatest Jewish lobby. Maybe the Palestinians also need a Palestinian lobby that will effectively tell the world, although they know it, that seeing this brings tears to your eyes. Maybe then the world opinion will force the major powers, the veto powers, to stop this, just like we did with Kosovo, you know?
Yeah, well, with the Palestinians, it's a little bit different. I mean, the support the Palestinians get. I'll give you an example, actually, here in Madison. There is a project called Rafah Sister City Project. The people in this project tried so hard to get actually official recognition for the Sister City Project, despite the fact that there is actually about 40 different projects, the same Sister City Project with different cities around the world. Only Rafah Sister City Project was declined by the city, the government, was it the city council here, the decision. Only Rafah, but the rest of all these projects that asked for Sister City Project were accepted, and there were projects going on. The project's still going on, but this is an example. It's just a simple example for how the reaction towards just a smaller project. You have also the SGPs around the United States in different colleges. You see what they go through as well. When they bring a Palestinian speaker, they are being attacked constantly. If they bring an Israeli speaker, they are less harsh to them. Even the audience, when the Israeli speaker, you see like, oh, a lot of audiences. A Palestinian speaker, oh, a small group of, it depends on what kind of audience you are talking about, or who's going to lobby. Is it people who are very active already, or people who do not know? How are we going to reach those people who do not know? And most people do not know about the situation. They hear in Fox News, BBC. I hear Fox News, BBC. I myself, in 2006, was in a tour in the United States. I'll tell you how people brain getting into this until we answer the question properly. People, I'm not going to say the word ignorant in a bad way. I'm saying it in a positive way. People do not know. They are ignorant. I came in 2006 in a tour. I started to talk about the situation in Gaza, and a woman from the audience, she stood and she said, do the Israelis army just destroy your homes like that? They don't give you permission, like ask you to leave? She doesn't believe it. I said, they didn't tell us to leave. They came just to crush the house. She couldn't even think about it. And then she said, they didn't give you compensation. I felt that when that question just slammed me in the face, I felt like I was humiliated, because how come a person think that way? And then I said, they didn't give us compensation. We were homeless, and we're still homeless at that time in 2006. We're still homeless. And she didn't get it. She didn't visualize it. I realized that people don't see. That's why in the film, I decided people have to see what is going there. I came in 2010 to New York. One of the women I saw she was standing in a demonstration with a poster. In a demonstration, the demonstration was about Palestine, and she was standing on the Palestinian side with a poster. And then she saw me. She came to me and she hugged me, and she said, do you recognize me? I said, I met many people all over when I go and talk. Their face sometimes sticks, sometimes don't, and I'm sorry if I don't remember you. She said, you changed me. I was like, oh. She said, do you remember the woman who asked you these questions about the home demolitions and she didn't want to listen to you? It was me. You said one thing made me go back, but think. I asked her, what did I say made you think? She said, you said, go and search yourself. Do not believe me. I said, only this sentence. She went back, she searched. I am not to convert anybody, but she needed to know more. And then she was actually given like a word by her church for her peaceful work for Palestine, Israel. This is an example. It's just one person. She changed herself. I had nothing to do with her change. She just heard the story, and then she made her search. The question is how we reach these people who do not know. We do not need to lobby to make a museum at first. We need to lobby to make people know. Because if they do not know, you cannot judge them. You do not judge people who do not know. This is one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people say, why you are not angry at Americans. They send weapons, they kill your children, they destroy your homes. These weapons are made in America. I say because they don't know. How am I going to judge a person who don't know me? They didn't know that these bulldozers were destroying these homes. All the things they have in their brain, their mind, that these bulldozers just are there for, building. They're destroying the tourist homes. And all these people are tourists. If I'm standing here asking for a right as a human being, and they take away from me, if you want me to be a tourist, I am a tourist. For asking for my right, it's my right. For my house to be destroyed and accepted and just walk away, which we did. We did, my family did, we walked away. I was an angry student, I was your age. My dad said, do not look back, just go. I was angry at my dad because I looked at him like as a weak person. But days would go back. If time goes back, and times also now, I stand here, I saw how strong my dad is. Because that scene, if I saw it, my heart would have been filled with all of this dirt called hate. And I didn't want that to happen because this is what the occupation needed. The occupation made people like hate each other, and I stand here and they want me to say I hate them. So they actually give themselves excuses for all this killing, for all this destruction, so they do not really feel like, oh, sorry for them. We are sorry for them. They do not want to feel sorry for us. So this is not only a lobbying, it needs a lot of work from the people to know. You need to reach them, talk to them, and then let them do their own search.
To your statement of the people knowing, do people in Europe tend to be more cognizant of what's going on in the Middle East and Americans?
For two reasons. One of the reasons is the media. Here in the
You're
United
saying
States.
yes, they do.
Yes, they do. Actually, they are more progressive actually than the Americans. One of the things is the media. American media is totally biased. I'm not gonna say they are neutral. No, they are biased, and it's clear when you see Fox News. You see one side of the story. When you see BBC News, they direct the side of the story. You do not see the Palestinian side. If you ever hear a Palestinian side speaking in BBC or even Fox News, they are just numbers. You never hear a story for a family. You never hear a name, unless he did a terrible thing that killed maybe an Israeli or a suicide bomber. Then you will hear the name, where he was born, what city he's from, what he did, the history of his family. All this history comes. But if he's, for example, a Palestinian from a village who was just killed or burned, like Abu Khadra, you will not hear this in news in American news.
But do you hear it on European news?
You will hear in European news, but not also as much as it takes coverage in the Arabic media. But it takes its place. People talk about it. We have a question there.
Yeah, obviously, after decades of doing educational work, we still have a long way to go. But I mean, some people are starting to get it. But I think at Madison, there's two things that could be done that would be fairly simple. One would be for the community to collaborate, come up with a brochure or a list of companies in the United States, in Wisconsin, and their products, companies that are involved with Israeli defense industries and or the occupation, and distribute that widely, so that at least on a personal level, people can begin to practice, you know, a little BDS or at least a little boycott, okay? And that wouldn't be that hard. It would take a research committee to, you know, maybe a few weeks to compile and publish something like this. And I don't know why it hasn't been done up to this point. And the second thing that could be done is, Madison's supposedly a liberal progressive town, right? And we have these liberal progressive representatives like Tammy Baldwin and Mark O'Can, right? Who keep voting military appropriations for Israel, who say they're for a two-state solution, but, you know, they are helping to enable Israel to stonewall a two-state solution. I think that, you know, we should mount a public pressure campaign on them, even if it pisses off, you know, some people who love them, you know, for other reasons. I think we should launch a public pressure campaign and give them help every time they vote for military appropriations for Israel. So if we can't do anything else, at least we could do those two things. That's the low-hanging fruit. You know, it's a lot harder to get the University of Wisconsin to divest, or the State of Wisconsin Investment Board, which handles all the pension money, you know, but at least we should do those two things.
Well, if you take it for the divestment, okay, what it stands for, the BDS, boycott, divestment, and sanctions. The BDS actually, as if you want to take it as Madison, well, look at the progressive actually universities. Do not compare the university here. Columbia University is one of the biggest universities in the United States, took the initiative, and they have it. The other universities is taking this on. If Madison cannot do it, then you need to work more in Madison. In New York, people work more in New York, so you get results when you reach more people. And there are lots of young people here. They do not know. They see what you hear Netanyahu, what he says, you just take it. He's the prophet. If I'm a Jew, he's the prophet for me because I want to listen to what he says. They go through a lot. I listen, I take it. I do not want to listen to those Palestinians. I don't care what they go through. Okay, I don't care if this woman came from a neighborhood, was totally destroyed, and then she had to go through the hell to get out of the crossing for only filmic training, and then get through the hell again to come to the United States, and then go under all of this kind of monitoring as a tourist. Her phone calls, her text messages, where she goes, every single speech she goes to is recorded. That's where I started to record my own speeches. it's terrible. I totally understand the way you think about it, but I think it's still education works. If we do more work, we get results. And I actually was shocked by when I first came to the United States with a group called Jewish Voice for Peace. I was so angry. And these people came to many events, and they started to invite me to come to their homes. I go to these people's homes, they are so warm from the inside. People like just tell you, look, I know what you go through. I saw this, and I'm sorry for what you go through. I am helping, trying to help. I was shocked because I didn't hear about these Jewish Voice for Peace before. But when I went to New York, I started to hear about this group. They were very positive. They were they're working hard as well with other groups in New York, in California, Florida. I didn't hear about them at all before. When I came, okay. I started to hear also their side of the story. I started to listen to some of the speeches that they actually bring the speakers to. I never heard Mikko Peled speak. Or Naomi Chomsky. I never put myself into these names before until I came to the United States. I go to these speeches, I hear, yeah, these people are actually knowledgeable. They have a lot of knowledge, not only about the Palestine-Israel conflict. Some of them grow up there and they talk about it, and you hear them, you say, okay, my anger should not be as much as it is now. And it gets less and less and less. And then you meet the point where you say, okay, they are working for my right, I work for my right, and it's going to work one day. But we shouldn't give up. We should keep working on this education. And I totally understand your frustration, but we have to keep work. Yes.
Yeah, I was just wondering, in the responses you've gotten to your film from different audiences here in the U.S., what are the kinds of things that seem to get people most outraged or concerned? Are the home demolitions, or the bombings, from the the Israeli military, like invasion and bombing, or is it the whole thing about checkpoints and basically being kind of imprisoned? I mean, what are the things that seem to rile people up the most?
Here.
Well, in the U.S., yeah.
Everything. The whole film makes them so angry that I stand always at the end and I say, please, my film is not to make you angry. I just made this film for a window of communication. I want the people to see this so they understand what is this side is going through. Because a lot of times when people talk about Gaza, they try not to touch into the side of the people. Most of the time they talk politics. Most of the time they talk politics, and when it comes to the people, they don't know them closely. They don't know the farmers closely. They don't know the fishermen closely. They don't know what a child like Mona goes through. When I filmed with Mona, the first thing I said to myself, I will not have a child in my film because I do not want to get sympathy for the Palestinian through a child's story. But then I had to put Mona for different reasons. I see her, I walk with her, her clothes, her bag. Such an elegant kid. And she talks very articulate. She made me, I have to. She's a child, but I have to. She remembers every single detail for the bombs that hit her family house. Nobody told her, say the first missile hit my cousin and remember his name and his age, and remember the second missile hit my mom or my uncle or my grandmother, or the third missile. Those people went through this. She saw all of that. I had to put it. So people do not think when this child come and go through all of this, she has to say, I love Jews or Israel. They have to understand she went through a lot, that needs to understand that what she went through is not something simple or easy. But also they need to understand also she's a child as well. So all of this, it was really too much for me as well to think of. It's not an easy way, but...
Did you consider putting in anything about like the olive groves and things like that? The destruction and the separating them by the wall and other things that the olive growing issue?
Well, in Gaza it's different from the West Bank, because in Gaza the wall actually was right on the border with Egypt, which at that time was controlled The Palestinian side was controlled at that time by the Israeli soldier, and the other side by the Egyptian military. So these two sides were controlled by Egypt and Israel, the border area. And the wall was right on the border. So we didn't have too much of the agriculture land where the wall where the wall was put. It was different. In West Bank, it's totally different. The wall was put on the Palestinian land in these villages, which took really a lot of the Palestinian land in these villages. But in Gaza, it was right on the border, and that's why the story of Gaza is different from the West Bank, because in Gaza you find home demolition, in West Bank you find farm demolition, trees being cut, less of home demolition, but in Gaza you find more home demolition, less of the trees demolition. Yes.
What kind of backlash have you gotten? What arguments have people given?
Most of the time, it's coward people who sit in the talk and leave and write without facing me. And I call them cowards because they are. If they had a little bit of courage, they would have asked me directly in my face and I would have answered them. And because they are cowards, they sit, they take the speech, and they write what they wanted. When I started this film, it was totally different. The story was totally different than the story you saw. When I came to New York, the love of the people I met in New York made me myself feel that I have to make part of the film about these people who met me. A lot of them were Jews. I was shocked. So the story that I wanted to make was totally different than this. How me as a Palestinian went to throw some of what you saw there in the film, and then moved to New York, and some of these people who's working actively non-stop to actually show the rest of the Americans what's happening there. But a student in one of the colleges actually wrote an article about my trailer. I showed the trailer, and I was in the stage of fundraising for the film. This is before the film takes the shape that you saw right now. He actually wrote an article, and he said, Fida Qishta support the suicide bomber. Although my paper in school was totally against suicide bombers or innocent being hurt, despite what nationality, religion, where they come, innocents are innocent people. They are like me, like you, they are innocent. They are not militant people carrying a gun to shoot me or shoot you. When he wrote the article, I read it, I cried because he changed every single word I said. But I had no meaning. From that time, I started to carry this. I record my own speech, I hear the questions, and I write my own book as well. I changed the film. I actually hired someone to help me with the script. We wrote the script, and I edited the film because I thought if this child, I call him child because his journalism was totally, we call it yellow journalism. I don't know if you have the same name here. He changed the facts. He built his own facts on them. The idea, the things he grew up with. I grew up with this. Israel is a great country. Whatever Israel is doing is my holy book. He didn't want to believe what's going on there. He changed everything I said. So I had to do the film the way that came out as Where Should the Birds Fly? So he needs to be educated about what people go through. And that's how, this is one of the stories. Backlashes directly, no, they don't dare. They just stand, sit there, believe, and write whatever they want. And they don't make me angry because I meet a lot of positive response, good people as well. So you cannot take the good, great response with one or two bad response. Because the majority of the response that I got for the film, if it wasn't 98% positive, I would have been totally, like I will be a little bit negative, but most of the response I got for the film was positive response, despite what the subject is about. Yes?
I can see that the source of the problem is the United States not being able to help the situation there. And I understand that the government is supporting Israel. On the other hand, we're seeing that the public opinion here doesn't lean toward the Palestinian side. Why do you think that's happening, that the regular standard people in the United States do not understand, or they don't want to understand? Is it a cultural thing, is it an economical, or is it religion?
Well, I think let's put it this way. When you go to elect somebody, you elect them for what benefits they give you. Let's say most people elected Barack Obama in the first election because they thought he is African American and he will get as much right to the people as he can, right? That's what most people were talking about, the Obamacare as a positive thing. Lots of people were talking about the political reform in the United States. He's Democrat. Lots of people were thinking of what benefit as an American I can get. Most people, when they elect any president or any member of parliament, they elect them for the benefits they give them, not for a cause in particular. When it comes, if I elect this a member of parliament because he supports Palestine or supports Israel, it doesn't work like that. It's true that lots of the member of parliaments gets funded from here or there. It's different, the fund is different, but for you people, you elect those members upon the benefits they give you. It's not because this member of parliament supports the Palestinians or because this member of parliament supports the Israelis. It's totally different. So that's how people think. From my point of view, this is how American thinks. It's not because this is for Palestinians, but campaigning again because they don't like what a member of parliament do or what the president sometimes talk about the Palestinians. This is still, it's a bigger picture for the power in the United States and how it's being rolled here. Yes. I can't hear you.
I almost hate to ask this question, but how is Mona now?
Mona, after the war in Gaza, I talked to Mona actually a couple of times, one to her brother and one to her. She seemed to be okay, but you know when we say in Gaza we are okay, we are fine, we are kind of survived. When I say I'm okay, it means I'm standing. She's okay. That's what she said. She's still going back to school. She's still joining the UN programs, summer camps. They do some programs, therapy programs once in a while, summer camps. She joined those. But if you ask me if she's really good, she's really okay, I would tell you no. I've been trying to cope with what I went through in Gaza for 4 years. And every year I pass a stage, I go and write in my notebooks. Last year, this thing happened. This year, it didn't happen. Next year, I'm not going to go that back. I'm going to move forward. It's been 5 years now, actually, not 4. 5 years. Every year, I wish also my family do not have the same experience they have right there, because I see the change in myself and see how I feel in my heart, and they still being constantly pulled back to where they, every time I say they're going to move forward, they get pulled back. So that's the difference between Mona and what she goes through, or the people of Gaza. Move on this year, but next year another attack happens, bring things down. What you can do, for one of the things, I talk a lot to people on what they can do, because you are students. A small thing you can do, educate other students who do not know or see anything from this, because education is not about just talking. People need to see. There is a project I started actually a couple of years ago. It's about educating people about whatever cause you believe in. If this is a film, or if this is a subject I believe in, I should educate 10 people. Within a year, you will have no idea how many people can have, at least in their brain, a question what is going on, why this is happening. Not to stand on one side. Again, I'm not here to make you stand on the Palestinian side or to make you hate the Israeli side. It's just to make you think why this is happening. I sell the DVD to support me go back to school. I'm going back to school, hopefully, if I reach the fund that the school needs in May. I'm going to study filmmaking, master in filmmaking. The project is teaching 10 people. You get the you get the DVD, map it, means I buy the DVD, I give it to a friend of mine. I know this friend don't know maybe what's happening there. I give them the DVD. Can you please see it? Okay, your friends see it. Give it back to me. Just watch it and give it back to me. And then write down how many people watched it. You will be amazed by the end of the year how many people watched the same film. Some people sent me, they said 200 in their circle watched the movie. Some people said 300. Some people said 50, 10, 5. The more you do, the more actually we educate people. The DVD costs $25. For some people it's a lot of money, but for me I will be able to go back to school and for you to educate other people and to support the good work. If you think it's a good work, if you think it's not a good work, it's like, I'm not gonna support this, I'm not gonna go to jail for it, don't. But just, again, stay human and do what you think is right. Thanks a lot. If you have more questions, you can ask. If you don't, you can get the DVD, you reach me, get my email, attack me later, send me emails, attack me, it's okay. I will take it.
On behalf of SJP, I'd like to thank all of you for coming out today. We would like to thank Fida Qishta for her time, as well as the Madison Rafa Sister City Project and private individuals for their donations that made this possible. Please don't forget to like our Facebook page for the future events and make sure to browse the literature table outside. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Good news. And one more thing. I have also a campaign, GoFundMe, /Fida .school. This is if you like to help me with my graduate school as well. You can donate online, or we have also this donation jar or whatever is there. You can also donate, and we still have the DVDs. I don't want to go back with a lot of DVDs to New York. Come and get them. Thank you so much.